Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the special weather briefing from the National Weather Service Peachtree City, Atlanta office for 3 p.m. Wednesday, January 12th, 2022. We're going to be talking about the potential winter weather event on Saturday and Sunday. And at this time, we're still seeing considerable disagreement between model solutions. We do have the potential, however, for winter weather from Saturday evening into Sunday evening in North Georgia. That is one thing that the guidance has been in decent agreement about, has been the timing. So once again, we're looking at Saturday evening into Sunday evening. We have a few factors that are owing to this uncertainty. So we have a couple of things that we're going to be watching as we continue to evolve the forecast. The first is we're going to be looking at high pressure moving into New England and the development of cold air damming, wedge along the spine of the Appalachians and along far north Georgia. And then finally, the track and development of a surface low pressure moving from the lower Mississippi Valley into Georgia. And that's going to impact how far north warmer air is going to spread. In recent model runs, this low pressure system is trending further north, giving us a little bit of a warmer solution and a little more potential for some mixed precip and freezing rain. So with all these moving parts, it remains too early to provide deterministic snow and ice amounts at this time, but we're going to hit on the general trends in this presentation. So here's our setup. Here's a look at the WPC forecast for 12Z Saturday. And once again, here's the up on the north here, just north of the Great Lakes, is the high pressure that we're going to be interested in. That is going to be moving southeastward into New England. And as it does, there's the potential for wedge development along the spine of the Appalachians, moving into North Georgia. And then meanwhile, this low pressure here is going to be translating eastward into Mississippi and Alabama and approaching Georgia late Saturday and into Sunday. So that's our ingredients and how they look on the synoptic map. So as the surface high moves more into New England, cold air damming develops down the eastern side of the Appalachians, and you can see the temperatures as this moves. Here's the start of the loop. Here's 7 a.m. Sunday, and you can see these blue temperatures are generally below freezing, and you can see those temperatures dropping down into North Georgia, even some parts into some parts of central Georgia as well. And then, of course, towards the end of the period, late Sunday into the early morning hours Monday, as the system begins to move off to the northeast, we have a good widespread range of below freezing temperatures across the far north and even into the metro area itself. And the reason we care about the wedge development is as the high pressure is stronger, that would mean a stronger wedge developing into North Georgia, which would mean a greater chance for freezing rain during the daytime Sunday. Meanwhile, if we have a weaker low, that would be looking more at a weaker wedge and a bit less of a chance of freezing rain. So here's temperatures simulated at about 2,000 feet all the way from Saturday morning to early Monday morning. And the Euro model is on the left and the GFS model is on the right. These white shaded temperatures and blue shaded temperatures are below freezing temperatures at that level. And the differences you can kind of trace out here as it moves across the area that's our surface low as it moves across that little curl as it wraps around into the area is the track our surface low is going to be taking based on these models. The difference of the low in each model leads to differences in the forecast temperature and what we refer to as the quote-unquote cold nose, and with our temperature at 2,000. And of course, note the further south and west extent of this during in the Euro run as compared to the GFS run. So we'll freeze frame it a little bit here at 10 a.m. Notice how much colder the Euro is at 10 a.m. compared to the GFS. And what that means at that time is a greater coverage and amount of frozen precipitation, whether that be freezing rain, sleet, or snow. So basically the Euro at this time is a lot more bullish with our potential for freezing precipitation than is the latest GFS solution. And so what this means in terms of the development, not only would we have the potential for a warm nose higher up, but then another cold nose underneath for refreezing. These are the different types of precipitation we could get out of such a situation. If our warm nose never extends above freezing, above 0 degrees Celsius, we have we're looking at generally all snow. If you have a very shallow warm layer at the mid levels and then a good amount of refreezing by the surface, you get more of a sleet situation where droplets freeze and form ice before reaching the surface. And then if you have a deep layer where the air is above 0 degrees Celsius or above freezing, and then a very shallow refreezing layer where you're below freezing at the surface, you get more of a freezing rain situation where rain freezes on contact with the surface. This is one of our main forecast considerations when it comes to forecasting what kind of precipitation type we're going to be getting out of this situation. This is what we're looking at in the vertical atmospheric column. And we're going to talk pretty shortly about what we're thinking at this time as far as the precipitation type is concerned. So here's a comparison between the ECMWF on the left, or the Euro, and then the GFS on the right. Things are in relatively good agreement as far as timing is concerned. Both of them moved the low into the lower Mississippi Valley by Saturday afternoon, by about 1 p.m. However, you can already tell the low pressure and the GFS is already in southern Arkansas, and you can see by these dotted lines here, these red dotted lines, that the warmer air is pulling a bit further north than it is in the GFS, where the low is all the way down in central Louisiana at that time. So the GFS at this time is already expected to take more of a northerly track with the low pressure system. By 7 p.m. Saturday or 0Z Sunday, you can see a little signature of the wedging. Our high pressure is beginning to move southeastward. We're still in southern Canada at this time and moving towards New England. And our wedge is just beginning to develop along the eastern side of the Appalachians. And precipitation is just starting to nose into Georgia at that time by Saturday evening as the low moves in towards Alabama. At this time, of course, our Euro solution is still well to the south, while our GFS is all the way in the central part of the state of Mississippi and heading into Alabama. Now by 12Z, we see a lot more pronounced wedging. That high is over in New York now. The wedging is extending well to the south. The low continues to intensify overnight into Saturday morning, and more widespread precipitation moves into Georgia. So frozen precipitation in North Georgia is expected as the precip begins to overrun the cold air mass under the wedge. And compare the northern parts of Georgia, this is still far more pronounced in the Euro than the GFS. In the GFS, actually, most of the precipitation that's frozen at this time is actually north and east of the state. A little bit of freezing rain and mix in the area, but we've already got some snow here and some freezing rain well into North Georgia in the GFS. But so naturally, the southerly track indicated by the Euro leads to higher snow and ice totals. Now, 18Z is sort of where things get interesting. because the Euro indicates that the original low occludes back here over Alabama, and another low forms along the front down here in South Georgia. That that helps pull the wedge further down to the south, and then also prevents the spread of much more warmer air to the north. Meanwhile, in the GFS solution, this doesn't occur. The original low dominates as it moves into northern Tennessee. And while we have a little bit of frozen precipitation across the north, it's not nearly as pronounced, and especially even into the metro Atlanta area, as the Euro. And the Euro even brings a good signature of freezing rain across North Georgia during that time. And then finally at 0Z Monday, where the low pressure is moving eastward towards the mid-Atlantic coast, we have some wraparound behind the system. But if you can look at the sort of your original low pressure system, it is still further north in the GFS, and that's focusing snow more towards Tennessee, Kentucky, and only a little finger of it into far north Georgia, where the snow is much more widespread in the Euro solution. And then naturally we have our magic 540 line that's wrapping, which indicates a good potential for frozen precipitation, which is well into central Georgia at that time. So that's a good indicator that we will be seeing predominantly snow on the backside late Sunday. So of course, just to illustrate some of the uncertainty that remains, here's the GEFS model spread. First, for 0Z Monday, you can see the spread of all of the solutions we have, taking the low as south as New Orleans, and then as far north as almost to St. Louis. And that's only for 0Z. So there's even more inconsistency rather, as we head into 12Z Saturday and into 0Z Monday. So still much inconsistency at this time as the low pressure traverses through our area. So please be sure to monitor for future updates. So we're going to transition a little bit into timing and precipitation type, starting at 7 p.m. Saturday. And at this time, it looks like by 7 p.m. our wedge will just be developing into the area. Temperatures will be well above freezing. And we only have a little bit in our far northeastern counties near towns in Union County, where a little bit of rain-snow mix will start to work its way in. This will start to increase by about 10 p.m., where temperatures drop into the mid-30s. And then by 1 a.m. Sunday, there will be a good rain-snow mix across a lot of our northeastern counties as temperatures reach freezing, and we'll be dropping into the mid to upper 30s across most of North Georgia. Now 4 a.m., that's where we start to see a bit of snow mixed in, along more pure snow here close to Blairsville in the far northeast, and our rain-snow mix starts to spread southward, generally along and north of the I-20 corridor. 7 a.m., we've got our wedge is firmly in place at this time. We've got well below freezing temperatures, but at this time, with the nature of the wedge set up in the area, there's a good chance that we'll be looking at a mix of freezing rain and ice across much of north and east Georgia. So generally like a north of I-20 and then east of I-75, and then rain-snow mix outside of that area. Things are, with the wedge remaining in place, things are not going to warm too terribly much at the surface, but with warmer upper level air beginning to spread northward by 10 and even into the early afternoon on Sunday, we'll be looking at more of a freezing rain setup at this time over far northeast Georgia. That's going to continue here till 1 p.m. in the early afternoon, like I said. And then by 4 p.m., that's where the center of the low begins to push eastward of the area, and we start to see a bit more of that wraparound precipitation that I talked about, where you have that deeper freezing air over the area, where you start getting more snow across north and east Georgia, and then even by 7 p.m., you've got its transition to all snow before it all moves out of the area. Another thing that's going to be worth keeping an eye on is our peak wind. Peak wind could be interesting for us because it could also increase the amount of ice totals that we get out of freezing rain, and could also lead to increased difficulty in driving conditions, especially if ice and snow are on the roadways. So strongest wind gusts are expected Sunday morning through the early afternoon. We've generally got 20 to 30 mile per hour gusts across the area, even some 30 to 35 mile per hour gusts in the higher elevations of far northeast Georgia. So to sum things up, once again, considerable disagreement remains between model solutions. However, the potential for winter weather, we're increasing in confidence that we will be seeing winter weather across far north Georgia on Saturday evening into Sunday evening. But the uncertainty is dependent on several factors that are going to impact the forecast. The first is that high pressure moving southeast into New England, how that develops the wedge in far north Georgia, and then to track in the development of the surface low pressure and how much further north warm air will spread. At this time, the low pressure is trending further north, and we're also trending a strong wedge in the area. So warmer air overrunning the cold air underneath the wedge, setting up a good amount of time of the potential for freezing rain within snow on the backside of the system. At this time, with all the moving parts, it remains too early to provide a deterministic snow and ice amount because there's so much that can change just between now and the next forecast issuance. However, we are going to be having another special briefing at 3 p.m. tomorrow, January 13th. And then here is our contact information if you ever need to get in touch with us. So on behalf of all of us here at the National Weather Service in Peachtree City, we'd like to thank you for your attention and for all that you continue to do for us. We're going to open it up here for questions here in just a minute. Thank you so much.